Good morning, hello, welcome everybody. Well, good morning. It's morning at the time that I'm recording this. Josh the RV Nerd here at Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan with our December RV industry update. We are all the way, we made it another year, guys, another trip around the sun here. What I've got for you today, another update on pricing information. And since we're coming into a new year, I figure it seems kind of fitting to provide some expectations, or at least some of my predictions on what I think is going to happen this coming year, especially come the first quarter, to help you kind of set your expectations and make your camping plans. Additionally, some really interesting news, happenings, and rumors that I heard about a while ago looking like they might be coming to fruition, potentially even an entire new RV manufacturer coming out. And we'll discuss all that and more as we go. But I do need to ask a little bit of patience from you folks. I was traveling all night last night, got in here today, started recording this thing right away. I am jet lagged, I am not caffeinated, and I am not my usual happy go lucky goofball self. So we'll see how it goes. All right, let's just rip this Band-Aid off and just get it over with. Let's go ahead and talk about pricing. It unfortunately just continues to creep. I think August was about the only month this year I didn't see things creep up. December wasn't bad by comparison, and it's really funny how the message sometimes that gets delivered to the dealerships is it's almost like it's been conditioned, you know? Like when I was younger, gas prices were cheaper, everything was cheaper, but I mean, you know, comparatively speaking, and you get used to say like $3 gas or whatever. Well, you know, when it only goes to $3.15, it doesn't seem that bad, you know? It's that conditioning factor. We were told, good news, dealers, our prices are only going to be nudged 1 to 2% this month. And I kind of thought about that, because it's not like it's a hard dollar amount, it's a percentage, you know. In previous years, let's say 2017, 2018, a normal year, the annual price increase that you typically saw from a manufacturer was maybe 1.5 to 2%, 3% if they made some significant product enhancements. And here we've just seen it again in just another month, on top of all the other things we've seen. And again, this video being about predictions, I don't think that trend's going to change. And I don't like what I just said, but that is my expectation. That being said, I do think that we will start to see a little bit of a return to normalcy in some respects for the 22 calendar year. So, one of the things that I think will start to look a little more familiar in the 22 calendar year as compared to previous years is having stuff on the ground, having more stuff in stock. Now, what you saw on the ground at various dealerships may have varied a little bit. Like you saw through our videos almost all summer, we were just straight blown out of inventory, and I discussed a lot of reasons why. One of the things that at the time I just really did not have good visibility of was just the fact that certain dealerships were just bigger, certain groups were bigger, had more pull with the manufacturer, and tended to get inventory directed their way a little bit more. And I can sit here and I can gripe about what's fair, what's not fair, and I can boo-hoo and poo-poo about that stuff, but the fact is, it's business, and game recognizes game. You know, when you're larger, you have more pull, you have more opportunities, you get greater considerations thrown your way, and Lord almighty, that sun is bright. Good morning. Although the warmth off that doesn't feel bad, because it is cold. My fingers are hurting right now. Anyway, the fact though is that, like, the way that our dealership's starting to fill back up with inventory, more dealerships are filling back up with inventory because a lot of those larger groups, their lots are pretty full. So you're seeing manufacturers backfeed inventory through the rest of the, the network, as it were. So that's good news for customers. That's really good news for you. For several reasons. Not only do you physically have stuff to come out here and put your hands on, because I've never liked having people order almost exclusively out of a catalog, but when there's more inventory on the grounds and more dealerships have more inventory, that means you as a customer are in a better position to try to get a little bit better figure on the thing that you're purchasing. Now, that may not be as obvious as it could or should be due to the fact that pricing continues to creep up, but comparatively speaking, it does put a little bit more power in your position. And understand, I hope you appreciate the fact that I share stuff like that, because that's the kind of thing that a lot of places will be like, what did you just say? Don't tell people that. Well, it's facts, man. And I think anybody with their eyes open can see that. I don't think I'm sharing anything here that any reasonable person doesn't already know. So can we just, call a spade and a duck a duck? This is good news for you guys. I will retouch on incoming inventory volumes in just a minute here. My tractor guy's trying not to make a lot of noise. You're good, buddy. We all got to work together here. The other thing I wanted to talk about is another thing I think is a good sign, especially that manufacturers, I'm not going to say at all, are getting caught up, because lead times are still just, like if you ordered something today, I still don't have a really good idea when a lot of stuff has been coming in. Now, there's certain brands, like I'm just going to use Rockwood, for instance, who have always carried a really when you order something, it takes them a while to build something because they build so much for so many people. I've noticed though that there's also a couple brands like Montana has been doing a really good job of having nearly normal lead times for personal custom order builds. We've been seeing custom ordered painted legacy Montanas in the sub 120 day mark, which 3-4 months for a really fancy pants custom unit, that ain't a terrible lead time. It could be a little better, but I ain't gonna complain about something like that. It's reasonable. The other thing that I've noticed too on this note is that manufacturers have slowly started reinstating some of their benched floor plans. Or when the model year was still 2020, there were a lot of new floor plans announced by a lot of manufacturers that they never had a chance to build because the world got turned upside down. And they're like the 274 RKS Freedom Express comes to mind. This thing was announced when it originally would have been a 2020. I don't even know if they've prototyped this thing yet, but it will finally start seeing production for the 22 calendar season, which I'm really happy about because that's actually a floor plan that I initially helped conceive when it was originally an open range model, and now you see it. It's in Passport, it's in Alpha Wolf, and now it's coming to Freedom Express. And I think it's just really cool to see. I'm just personally excited to see that one come out because it's kind of my baby, But all of that potential return to normalcy I just talked about is almost completely contingent upon inventory continuing to roll in and be readily available. There are some potential indicators, concerns, and or rumors that may not continue to be the case. And what I mean by that is, like earlier this year, say, August, September kind of area, man, we were seeing 5 to 7 new RVs a day. Now that has tapered back to like 2 or 3, which is not terrible, but it did suddenly change. And it's certainly not because our orders are fulfilled. We still have, oh my Lord, so much coming in. But a lot of that has to do with, like, especially my last month industry update. I'll leave, if you didn't catch that, I'll leave you a link for it. But where material shortages have come in. And I want to talk about that, the idea of shortages. I have said that word more this year than I've said in the entirety of my life. The other 39 years of my life, I've never said it as much as I said it this year. But even though I'm 39, I do at least have a 54-year-old hairline. Moving on. There have been some people who have left comments that says, guys, there's no shortages. The thing is, I got to really looking at this and doing some asking and diving into things. They're not necessarily wrong. And here's what I mean by that. It's not like a big conspiracy in that regard, I don't think. Because the thing is, like, let's just say ladders. Like, ladders are in shortage right now. Ladders are in shortage right now. They're not actually in shortage. They're in exceptional demand. And that's a little bit different. Because if you look at the number of ladders built for the RV industry this year, it is something like 157% above previous peak seasons. So they've built 57% more ladders than normal. But the problem is demand is like 187% above normal. So when we say shortage, it's not that the manufacturers aren't building more. It's that they can't build enough, because who could have predicted that kind of potential influx? So it's not like they could have built the facilities and the infrastructure to be able to support that kind of spike in demand that whole time. So things are short in that there's not enough of them to build everything that needs to be built, but they're not short in that, like, there's been an intentional, we haven't built enough so we can keep the pricing up. Because if you look at the number of things that have been actually built, produced, and shipped, they're way above previous seasons. So just a little interesting, I don't know that that really gives us any extra information, just an extra little thing I kind of did some looking into and stumbled into here, and just thought I'd share, you know? I had to jump back out. You might notice the costume change. I had to jump back out here to record this. As I was sitting down, I realized there was something I wanted to talk about that I missed. On the topic of shortages or failure to supply or over exceeding demand, or whatever you want to call it. Whatever we want to call it, I'm just going to use the word shortage so we can move on. There are some industry analysts who are predicting the new RV manufacturing may come like grinding to a halt, basically. They won't be able to produce RVs due to various things like magnesium causing an aluminum shortage or whatever the case may be. So there are some analysts that are kind of suggesting dealerships just start buying up every late model, nearly new used RV or anything they can, just so they have something on the grounds to sell, in the event that when that happens. So that's a theory. I don't personally think that is going to be the case. I think that we are already seeing this year dealerships have more in stock and on the grounds moving into the next calendar year than the previous season, which was a major problem. Like, I knew this year for the 2021 calendar, I knew that when I looked up in January and we only had 108 campers on the grounds, and I normally have like 600, I was like, oh no, this is bad. This is going to be real bad. We didn't have that supply built up that we were able to work off of all year while constantly still replenishing things. By all accounts, we may not be back to that 600 mark come January, but I think that we'll be in pretty decent shape. That with a steady supply of things, we'll be all right. Now, there may always be one or two ultra popular floor plans that we're always just picked over on, something like that. But I could be wrong. I could end up eating these words. But I am not predicting that we're going to come into another massive, like, dealerships don't have inventory thing like they did this past year. No, it's just a theory. That's my theory versus theirs. What do you guys think is going to happen? And as we go through this video, please leave me comments. Let me know what you think about this stuff. What are you seeing in your regions? Just what are your thoughts on all this stuff in general? I always love hearing that, and I'll do my best to kind of go through and engage with each of you on a one-on-one level in the comments section there. Okay, as we as we walk past Lake Haylett over here, which is our drainage retention pond. Not that I'm bitter about this or anything, but when Home Depot came in behind us with a massive property plot, City of Coldwater didn't require them to do anything like this, so we had to put in an oversized, drainage pond when we did some property enhancements to help compensate for that. I'm not bitter or anything, but hey, neither here nor there. That's totally not at all related to this video. What I actually want to talk about right now, and as we move into the 22 calendar year, is what I suspect greatly will be a continued trend of consolidation in the RV industry. Like anything, there's good, there's bad, there's ugly, and there is everything in between with that. But like, what am I talking about? Consolidation. Well, like Ericsell is a company that supplies a lot of stuff to the RV industry. In case you weren't aware, have you heard of things like Max Air fans, of Coleman Mach AC units? I think Aqua Heat is another one of those. Like, they make some major stuff for the RV industry. Ericsell, is now a Thor-owned company. So if you're like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, let's use Rockwood, for instance. Rockwood uses Max Air vent fans. Rockwood uses Coleman Mach AC units. Those are now Thor supplied, in a sense, parts going onto a Forest River product. That's very interesting to me. What is that going to mean? And right now, I don't fully know. It hasn't been long enough that, I don't think it's going to be a case where, well, now Rockwood won't have Max Air vent fans. I don't think that will happen. They might change suppliers, but what I think will happen a little bit is you'll see something where Thor will say, okay, Forest River, we'll continue to sell this stuff to you at a 10% increase so that we can have a 10% decrease in cost on using the exact same parts on our RVs. We're going to subsidize our production based off of yours. And it's just a theory. It's just a trend. It's certainly nothing new in the RV industry. And actually, as strange as that sounds, that is a very normal behavior that takes place in the RV industry all of the time. And, they each have a couple where they win, they each have a couple where they lose. And my arm holding this thing is getting tired, so pardon me as I have to use two hands on the camera over here. I think that we'll continue to see things like that happen. There's been over the last especially year, a massive trend, sometimes people don't realize, of RV dealership acquisitions, either banding under consolidated banner or being purchased and acquired by another dealership chain and or group. A really big example of this that I don't think people are really aware of is the RVR group. And this is not at all a knock against them. This is just business. I'm just sharing news, things that's happening out there. Again, not a jab at them, but like when Camping World or Gander RV acquires a store, you know it because the name of the store changes. RVR, the group's known as RV Retailer, they operate a little bit differently. Like when they acquire dealerships or groups, the original name tends to be there. And a lot of people don't realize that this group has increased their network massively over this last year. And on that trend, I'm not going to duck the issue here. On that trend, in case you missed our announcement video, Haylett RV has joined the Bish RV family of dealerships. And if that's like, whoa, what? News to you? I will leave a link to that video in the description so you can see that and learn more about that. And there were a lot of questions, comments, concerns generated from that. And I don't know if you noticed, but I've spent a lot of time going through every one of those, doing my very best to try to catch everyone and personally hand answer that to share information for you. And I also have, if I can get caught up here, in a day or two, a little response video addressing some of those questions, comments, and concerns coming out. So maybe stay tuned for that over the next couple days. But again, if this is like a big shocker to you, because I know that not everybody watches every single video that we have coming out here, I'll leave you the link to that in the video description so you can check out that kind of stuff. But that is part of that trend of consolidation out there. And like I said, there's good, bad, ugly, in between, related to anything. The one thing I can tell you, and I think any reasonable person can recognize, is that change is constant. But like it or not, it is happening. And that's why I put this information out here in those videos. And again, sometimes some things like this are difficult and or awkward to discuss, like pricing. But if you appreciate the way that we put that kind of stuff out there, make sure you hit that like button to spread this message and subscribe to our videos. And in case you're curious, things like this, the news and industry updates, the reviews, the how-tos, the recall reports, that stuff's gonna keep coming out in this channel. Don't worry about that. And finally today, a little bit of a rumor, but the last time I heard a rumor about this turned out to actually happen. So I started hearing some rumblings about potential new RV manufacturer or manufacturers, plural, back in I think June this year. And lo and behold, who pops up? Ember RV. So bingo, ping that one. But there were other people from other companies that I saw saying interesting things on social media, like, I think I'm going to sit it out for a year. Well, if you're not aware, a 1-year non-compete is not necessarily an uncommon thing in the RV industry, especially once people hit certain executive levels, you know. When you have a real top-tier type talent, someone who really drives your company, you don't really want them leaving you, and you don't really want them working against you. So when someone says they're taking a year off, it's like, coincidence, you know? Interesting. Something I noticed happened recently is, I think it was in Goshen, Indiana, there was a plot of land approved for like new RV manufacturing facility production. And this plot of land is like on the scope and scale of Keystone. Now, it was also proposed for building or production or whatever you want to call it by someone who's not currently actively in the RV industry, coincidentally enough, you know. And I don't expect like you'll see a facility that large go into immediate production, but the fact that they have that kind of land and that kind of plan indicates we may be looking at another very serious player out there in the RV industry, you know, beginning to kick things off and start things up potentially next year. And in case you're kind of curious, like, it's a collection of people from a few different companies, but some of the people, I suspect, I don't have confirmation of this. Like, I don't know these people, but I see the writing on the wall, I keep my ear to the ground, and it's like some of the really top brass that had left Grand Design, I suspect are going to be involved in this. So it's possible we may have some people who are very good in the RV industry expanding offerings, which is also kind of interesting because, you know, we talked about a trend for consolidation, but that also opens up sometimes opportunities for newer, potentially startups to get their name and their voice and their look and their feeling out there. So it's almost kind of a cycle, you know, and it'll be really interesting to see where that goes if that comes to fruition. But if what happened with Ember is any indication, I suspect we're going to have another potentially big new manufacturer coming our way down the line here. So once again, remember that a lot of the things that we've shared here today, they don't always necessarily work even in our favor, and sometimes they might be scary, and I could very likely see some people, especially based on even like the pricing you know, theory or expectations that I have, some people could say, well, you know what, good job, guy, you convinced me not to buy something. That's okay. I feel very strongly you probably would have found that realization on your own regardless. What I want to continue to do with these videos, and these industry updates, this kind of stuff, this news stuff will continue, and in fact I may be able to get more information and a broader scope as we you know, as I kind of grow into the Bish RV organization. These things will continue. So if you appreciate the fact that, you know, we pull back that curtain, we give you a more real world look at things, at least to the best of my ability, hit that like button, subscribe to our videos, and we'll catch you on the next one. And again, if the whole thing of like, what is this Bish RV thing you're talking about? If that's a big shock to you again, I will leave a link in the video description where we made that initial announcement. And then in a couple days, I have a follow-up video coming out on this that will talk about, again, the questions, comments, concerns that people had with that video. Anything where people ask the same thing a bunch of times. I want to try to expand and elaborate on some of those responses on a more broad spectrum platform to help, again, just take the scary mystification away. Let's just have a conversation. Why don't give you a chance to go understand what's going on through our heads a little bit. And again, we can can grow, we can advance, we can learn together, and I'll continue to provide that news for you guys as long as you'd like to see it. So, as always, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone. We'll see you next time.